This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, here we are, August 15th, 2021. Although where my guest is, it's August 16th.
That's correct. In
Yes.
glorious Sydney, Australia, always ahead of the times.
That's right. You know, I always pride myself here in New Brunswick being 4 hours ahead of Los Angeles, but in Australia, they have us beat.
That's we do. Darling, when we're into a new year, you're still back in the old year.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, folks, my guest I had on, it was actually August 6th, 2015. And she was my 9th interview I ever done on this podcast. And I was so thrilled to have her because she's my favorite part of the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh,
folks,
so
I give you the lovely, the beautiful little Nell Campbell. How do you do?
Hello. Great to be here.
Oh boy, I love the greens and the pinks on you. You look classy.
Fabulous. It's a shame the listeners can't see how wonderful I look.
Well, when I put the Zoom up, you know, maybe
they will see me. Oh my Lord! I think I'd have put more makeup on had I known.
Are you kidding? Hey, you got a kitty too.
Yeah. Have you got one?
Yeah. I'm gonna see if I can coach him over here.
Oh.
I did.
Oh, hello, gorgeous cat. I so love cats. This one is extremely frustrating. Mine. What's yours called?
Skittles.
Skittles.
Skittles meet little Nell from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
And here's Tallulah, named after Tallulah Bankhead.
Look at that. Neither one of them are camera friendly.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. Oh, yeah.
So Skittles doesn't like to be picked up either, I can see.
No, but I do it because I have to cuddle with them.
Hello, exactly. That's their rent.
Mm-hmm. Mine's rubbing against my finger now, so it's like, you know.
Well, I've got the old tail action in front of the camera, which is always amusing. Someone has compiled a video of Zoom meetings with people with their cats just going like, you know, wandering in front of the camera. So, what would you like to hear from me?
Well, you know what? I got to say, start off with, never been to Australia, but I got to say I love Australia because, you know, like you guys have got one of the most fascinating, most venomous snakes in the world there, the taipan, you know.
Please don't tell me you keep snakes.
I don't keep snakes. I do go by the name Python, but I find cats are so much more fun to cuddle with.
But I just am very, very against enclosing any animals. My cat lives outside, you know, can come. I mean, I'm lucky I live in a house with a lovely garden and it can come and go, but I'm so anti-zoo, anti-pet shop. I think it's obscene that people keep at reptiles in cages in their apartments. People also have, you know, too big a dog in an apartment. Dogs should be running off leash most of the time.
Yeah.
And frankly, I think all dogs should be allowed to be off leash in parks. I think people must pick up after them. But, you know, I don't have a dog. I adore dogs, but I travel too much to have a dog. And, but anyway, I'm really, really against enclosing animals. And of course, SeaWorld and places like that, absolutely obscene, and it should be outlawed.
Yeah. Well, my cat lives here in the apartment. I can't let him out because if I'm in the city and I don't want him to get hit by a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, mine goes out I live in a cul-de-sac, so mine can go on the road, but cats in general are very savvy, but you know, if you haven't got a garden, you can't let them out.
Yeah. Yeah. But mine's quite happy. He sleeps with me and he's a good cuddle buddy, you know. But
does he let you cuddle you? Does he let you cuddle him?
Oh yeah.
Oh no, mine won't do that for a minute.
Oh, mine
I'm
hates
gonna
to
get
be
another one.
cuddled. Mine hates to be cuddled, but he will come up and he'll sleep by my pillow while I sleep, though.
Oh, well,
So
that's adorable. Mine, at the very most will come and sleep by my feet. It's like, yeah, it's
yeah,
not good enough.
yeah. But nonetheless, I do like the wildlife there, and you guys get some really interesting animals there, like the
Well,
cassowary and stuff like that.
I know it's a beautiful name, a cassowary, and it's a beautiful bird. It's got the most
Mhm.
incredible blue on it. Unbelievable. But
Yeah,
hold on, I just wanted to say, yeah, on the subject of snakes, with the least impressive name, but the packing the most powerful poisonous punch is the brown snake that we
yeah.
have, and that is the most lethal.
Hmm.
And as you probably know, if you get bitten by a snake, the last thing you can do is run for help. You've got to stay completely still so the poison doesn't move around your body. And it's a poor schoolboy. I think he was in the city somewhere in a park. 16-year-old boy got bitten, and he did what he instinctively would do, which was run for help, and he died.
Oh,
It's a very powerful snake, the brown snake.
yeah. They call those a fierce snake too, don't they?
No, I've only ever
No?
known it to be called the brown snake. I mean,
Okay.
I haven't found a snake in my garden, but they do. I easily could. People do all the time. We
Yeah.
also have the funnel web spider. Do you know
Hmm.
about that?
Oh, yeah.
And the scary thing and the individual thing detail about the funnel web spider is that it digs a hole in the ground quite like it. I think it's like at least what I don't know. Are you in inches or whatever? Anyway, it's about 5 inches, and they create a web in the shape of a tunnel, right? So I mean,
Hmm.
they've got in a funnel shape, and they use it as a trampoline, and they're in their web, and they literally pull themselves back in their spun web and leap out at their prey, which could be you, as you go by. And they are jet black and very hairy spiders, and they are definitely in my garden. And they're quite like water, and they can be, when I clean out that little filter from my swimming pool, they can be in there.
You
And
guys,
they can kill they could kill a very young child or a very old person.
hmm you guys got the box jellyfish as well.
Well, the box jellyfish is just in a class of its own.
Hmm.
It's pretty much, unless you've got the ambulance waiting while you are having a nice swim prior to being stung by it, and it's absolutely minuscule. It's not like an Amazon box, and it stings you, and you become unbelievably ill in a matter of minutes. And again, I think you've got something like an hour to have the antidote for it before you'll die.
Uh,
The box jellyfish for now are further north, like in Queensland, the
hmm
upper part of Australia. But due to global warming, everything is changing, as you know,
hmm
and your dear listeners too. And the oceans, you see the shark attacks are definitely on the rise, which is a combination of the overfishing, which is worldwide appalling, but also we're sort of close enough to Japan, where fish twice a day is their diet.
hmm
And they fish like, I mean, it's just obscene. I know that's the third time I've used that word, which I hate using the same word all the time. As you know, they overfish, and they use those incredibly long nets that are like, quarter of a mile long or something, and catch dolphins, sharks, just by the by in those nets. It's just absolutely outrageous that they can legally do that.
mm
Anyway, so the overfishing and the warmer water, and it's like with your bears,
hmm
because all the deforestation of so many countries, and they're starving, and they're coming in and going into people's garbage bins, and the last thing they want to do is really eat that stuff. And
Yeah.
they only really attack in the wild if they think their babies are being threatened. That's the most common reason, isn't it?
Do you see kangaroos often in your backyard there behind you?
No, I don't have kangaroos in my garden. If I drove an hour and a half, 2 hours, I could, but they're not in this. I'm right in Sydney, but they're not very far away.
It's just kind of like us with deer. They're not very far away.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
We don't have deer, and I don't know,
yeah.
that people, the terrifying, oh God, I've suddenly forgotten it. The tick disease.
Yeah.
What's it called? How could I forget?
Lyme disease?
Lyme disease, named
Yeah.
after Lyme in Connecticut, the town of Lyme in Connecticut. Because I used to, when I lived in New York for 20 years, and I'd go to Shelter Island, a friend's house on Long Island, a lot. And, that's a most insidious disease, Lyme disease.
Yeah, I think Avril Lavigne got it when she was forget where she was touring, but she ended up getting it.
And it's as you may know, those deer ticks are the size, the New York Times says, they are the size of the dot of an I in newsprint. So,
oh wow,
good luck trying to find one. And secondly, if one gets on you, if you're lucky, it will leave, the famous
bullseye.
Bullseye
Yeah.
rash. And you've got, I think, 2 weeks. If you can have the antidote medication, excuse me, within 2 weeks, it'll be completely gone. You can, that's fine. But so often people haven't the rash. Of course, they haven't seen it. And then they get the most terrible, people can go mad. I've read an article in the New York Times about a whole family that got it. And the father threw a television set out the window. He sort of went nuts. The daughter couldn't leave her bed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a terrifying disease, Lyme disease.
Well,
all sorts of famous people have it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Last year was the 45th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Yesterday was the 46th birthday.
Yep,
Yesterday,
46.
I posted it on my Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
You turned 46. You mean you don't want to keep talking about, deadly creatures?
No,
I could go on and on. I suppose Australia is what is, may have, are we known to have the most, predatory creatures in the world?
Oh yeah, you got the saltwater crocodile and
yeah.
you
don't want to mess with a crocodile, that's for sure. But the Rocky Horror Picture Show turned 46 yesterday, and
there you are. There's a nice picture here on the back of you with your top hat. I don't know how well you can see that, but
I know it's so sad that I don't have the outfit.
I love that. I've seen this at a few midnight screenings, and I always go up and talk to the girls dressed as Columbia.
Oh, that's great. Well, they've gone to the most effort for their costume, I can assure you. I've met people that have, sewn every goddamn sequin on. I'm so impressed. And it's always so heartwarming, flattering, thrilling, joyous that everyone, the people that enjoy Rocky Horror Picture Show and that dress up in the costumes and that are in the shadow casts and create their own communities, all of it means so much to me. I can't begin to tell you. And I never, ever tire of people coming up to me and telling me this. It's all because it's pure joy. I've never met a nasty Rocky Horror Picture Show fan. It seems to bring out the best in people. Great people are attracted to it and enjoy it. And of course, the number one thing is how much it's helped people with their sexual orientation or individuality that they didn't feel they could express, or they were felt shame for, or their parents and family didn't understand, or their friends. I love that it's helped liberate them and realize, just don't dream it, be it. All of it's fine, all of it's great, all of it's legal, as long as you're kind to people, just go for it. Just and it deeply, deeply upsets me that there is any judgment of homosexuality or trans people to this day. It very much affects me. And what I think would help, as you know, it's taken so long for A to be, when it was made legal in most countries, that was just absurd that didn't happen earlier. And then to get, of course, for same-sex couples to marry, that took forever, which is insane. And my mother told me when I was young, darling, it's just so great when if it doesn't matter what sex somebody is, if you fall in love with somebody, it's just the greatest thing. That's how I was brought up, with that wonderful attitude to everything. But what I think would help and what needs to happen is that same-sex couples need to be in TV commercials, in plays, in films. It's got to be that children growing up see same-sex couples as absolutely normal as, opposite sex couples. So in a way, TV shows and advertising, that you still don't see it that much. And here's another one. I think that in ballet and dance, which I go to a lot, I think they need to shake that up too. They need to have more same-sex couples dancing together, and then little children won't see it as anything unusual. And so if they, feel that their sexual orientation is to the same sex, they won't think anything of it. It won't be something that they won't need to come out, because there's nothing to come out of.
I have a question for you, and you mentioned ballet and whatnot, and it just made me think, because I watched your a performance you did for Do the Swim, which I really enjoyed. Have you been dancing all your life?
Well, I studied. When I was 10, I had hepatitis very badly, made worse because I was misdiagnosed as having appendicitis. And so I went to hospital, and that just made me unbelievably ill. And children were actually dying of it. There was anyway, it was going around at the time. And so I spent 3 months recovering at home, which I absolutely adored. Age 10, I had my mother almost to myself. I had my 3-year-old sister Cressida. Oh, and I used to watch the midday movie, and that's where I discovered tap dancing, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, and all those sorts of films, the 1930s and 40s films and 50s, and the great musicals. So, and when I was better enough to go back, getting ready to go back to school, my doctor recommended to my mother, because I was so frail, to start doing dance classes, ballet classes.
Okay.
And I did ballet and jazz. And that was, and that really is, I don't excel in anything, but if there was anything that I was meant to be, I would say it would probably be at least a ballet dancer. But I did it. I studied it seriously till I was about 15. And I mean, I do, several classes a week. And then they introduced point shoes, and I put those bitches on, and I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I mean, you can suffer so much for your art. And that's another thing. You're getting it all, honey. I think point shoes should be outlawed in ballet. I don't give a damn. You can go on to demi point and it, can be just as beautiful. It's like foot binding. It's so unbelievably painful to wear point shoes, to dance in them. And you should see the feet of dancers. I mean, that's legendary. It deforms their feet.
Did you see the movie Black Swan? They kind of dived into that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that film. Though funny enough, my daughter had dinner with the director just a few nights ago in France, of all places.
Okay.
But no, I have not seen that film, but I certainly have seen the feet. And anyway, so that's another, that's got to go. That's got to go.
I'm going to tell you, when I watched you do a performance of In the Swim, I think it was on a talk show or something where they went to you. And you did, I'm going to tell you, I admired this. You had a moment where you were on your belly doing the swim motions and you had a nip slip.
Oh, yeah. Now I'll tell you what happened. The behind the scenes story of that infamous clip is that Janet Street Porter was the host of the show, and who I knew. She talks like this. She's got an incredible voice. She's on The Women, or whatever you call that breakfast, that show around the world. What is it called? Three women talking and bringing guests on. She's very, very successful to this day as a journalist and television personality. Anyway, she was the host of the show, and before I did my performance, by the way, I'd borrowed the bathing suit, the 1950s bathing suit, which was strapless, from a friend of mine. And just before I was being fit to be filmed, Janet said, "Now you've only got one take, so you better get it right." So up I got onto that little, podium and sang and performed my heart out. And I could feel that the bathing suit was sliding down, but I wasn't, because I was performing, I wasn't really aware how much it was. I just kept pulling it up.
You handled it beautifully. I loved your reaction. You didn't come off as embarrassed. I admired your reaction.
Thank you. The
You
reaction
were awesome.
at the end was hysterical. I'm so glad the whole thing survived. Because I agree. I was so pleased that they managed to keep the very end bit when I just burst out laughing. But the reason that and I also have to say I didn't realize how much of that it was going on. Anyway, on with the show.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear some of your music, and I found that clip, and that's why I come on. But you handled it beautifully. But I love Columbia. And I love your outfit, the glitter, the red, the greens, the yellow top hat. How long did it take you to get ready for that before shooting?
I think we probably got there a couple of hours. I mean, Tim's makeup would have been the longest part of it.
Yeah.
To get Tim's hair and makeup, because, I've got another pet peeve that I would like to share with you all.
Sure.
Wigs.
Okay.
Wigs. When you're filming or, making a television show, hair and makeup, as everybody knows, can take a long time. When in doubt, they will put a wig on a character, because that will cut about, that could cut nearly an hour of working on that person's hair every morning, and they can guarantee it's going to be consistent with the previous shots, etc. I can't, and the fact is, it's really, really hard to make wigs that you believe are hair. I can spot a wig at 50 paces in a film, on the television set. And it's so, in fact, they put a wig on Susan Sarandon for the floor show, which I always thought was a mistake. She's had incredible hair. I don't know why they felt they had to add it on. But I would think that that Tim probably took the longest to get ready.
Yeah, I love your solo tap dance during the time warp when they show the close up where you're going back and forth. That's
Oh,
I love that. The
I
tap
always
dancing.
get I was so nervous to do it, and I practiced so hard, and then I had to fall over. And actually, one of the hardest things was jumping off that goddamn jukebox, which was quite a tall thing to jump off and burst into dance.
Oh, I love your voice. Like every time you're on screen, it don't matter how dark anything else is in the film, you just bring this bright rainbow of sunshine every
Oh,
scene you're in.
well, thank you. And you, amazingly, I have just recorded my first audiobook. I didn't write the book. It was
Okay.
so I suddenly realized that that, maybe there's a dime in this voice. So I hope to do some more voice work. It was a lot of fun doing it.
Do you ever see the rest of the cast
Oh
much
yeah,
anymore? Okay.
absolutely. Well, pre-COVID, I would see Pat and Barry several times a year at conventions, and also at Meatloaf at least once a year at a
Mm-hmm.
convention. And Tim, I would see pretty much at least once or twice a year too. Richard O'Brien, I'm in touch with. He lives in New Zealand, as you may know, and we email each other. And anyway, so yes, I do. I am in touch with them. I haven't seen Susan. When I lived in New York, I used to see Susan sometimes, but I haven't seen her in ages now.
Yeah, Susan's really, really. She won an Academy Award for Dead Man Walking, and it's funny, because she really got a start with this film here. Her and Barry Bostwick doing their Can It Janet.
Yeah. Well, Susan is really talented.
Mm-hmm.
No one had heard of them when they rolled up to the film studio to start shooting. And I don't think anyone really wanted them in the film because we wanted the original Brad and Janet, and as did the director. But 20th Century Fox insisted that they have two Americans play Brad and Janet. And they both, Barry and Susan, had a little bit of experience, but I mean, they'd done a few things, and they got cast. I mean, we were totally friendly, but the person, Julie Covington, was the very first Janet, and she was brilliant in it. Anyway, so there is Barry Bostwick, Susan Sarandon, Never Heard of You, Here We Go. And all of us had been in the various stage productions of it. So we're sort of very familiar with it. With the exception of Charles Gray, but we never got to meet him. His scenes were all shot separately.
Oh, he's
anyway,
great.
I remember on the set, as we filmed, I thought, Susan just didn't appear to do anything. And I think her performance as Janet is flawless is the word I would use. I think she's so good in it. And so is Barry. They're both really, really good in it. So that was a lovely outcome.
Mm-hmm. What's your memories of working with Tim Curry? Especially, like, I love the Sweet Transvestite song. He really where the elevator's coming down, you see the tapping.
He's fantastic because he doesn't have the personality really of what I would imagine people imagine a thespian. But I think that's not exactly accurate. I suppose he does in some ways, but he's 100% not a prima donna. And never was. But the thing about him is that he is almost a little bit shy, which you possibly might not have guessed, and he's very intelligent. And so he's not quite what you would imagine, and he's got a great sense of humor. He's very amusing and witty. So we became pals when we first met doing the show in 1973. And it's, obviously it's devastating that he had his stroke and it's affected him so dramatically. But I would like to say to you all, and please take this on board, do not smoke. Tim smoked all the time. He was a big, big smoker. He still is, because he's got so little, in his life now, and he's had the stroke, but that stroke was caused by his smoking.
My brother needs to hear that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I am so anti-smoking.
Yeah. And of course, Richard O'Brien with that great time warp. I love that. And you're still in touch with him. Memories of working with him.
Oh, Richard is an absolute scream. Also, obviously, very intelligent. Everybody involved in it is actually very intelligent. The director, Jim Sharman, yep. The set designer, Brian Thompson, Sue Blaine, the costume designer, Richard Hartley, the musical director, and Richard O'Brien. Everyone involved is super bright, super original, and super amusing, with a great sense of humor. And of course, all this screams out at you in the film.
You and Patricia Quinn were a wonderful dynamo in the film as well.
Pat is an amazing individual. She has such recall of everything. You cannot believe what she can remember about her life, everything. I keep wanting to just record her and put it into a book. I've told her 100 times. She's got to just turn on a tape recorder and start telling her stories, because she's just got the best stories.
I'd love to get her on here. I love her
very, very much.
Yeah.
You must get her on it. You must.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find contact info, but love to get.
I'll send you. I'm sure she'd love to be on the show. She's a wonderful interviewee.
Okay, yeah, I would love that. Do you have a favorite song in this movie, whether you're in it or not?
I love the song, there's a lie, over at the Frankenstein place. So I don't really have favorites of anything. Isn't that a weird, whenever I'm asked?
I know, this is so hard to pick from.
I know. There's something about all of them that is just so delicious. And there's not a dud song in it, which is unusual for musical. In fact, there was one song that they cut. They added a song called Once in a While, which Brad sang, and they cut it from the film because it just wasn't good enough, which was such a smart decision. And Brad is always, of course, a very sensitive subject with Barry, who loves to then burst into it for the fans to hear just what it was like. Barry is a total joy to do convention, Q&As with, as is darling Pat. We've had such fun doing those Q&As, and every single one of them seems completely different from the one before. It's a funny thing, but we're quite a groovy little trio.
You're the only one from Rocky Horror I've had on the show. I would love to reach out and get some of the others. And I do know that Barry has done the conventions, because I always see him listed. I've done a few conventions here, in Toronto, which is an hour phone call away from here. But nonetheless, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to touch on Shock Treatment, which is celebrating its 40th anniversary. And I've got Suspiria on because it's got beautiful Jessica Harper.
Yes.
I don't have a Rocky Horror shirt. I usually get a lot of these at conventions, but I had Jessica
Don't
on
worry.
here. Yeah.
How is Jessica?
I had her on my show back in 2017. It took me about 2 years to get her.
Was she interesting?
Yeah, I'll send you the interview link. I don't mind doing that. When she said yes to me, first time I got in touch with her. But it took about 2 years before we actually got things scheduled, but
Right.
I did some research on her and discovered that she and her brother had a disease called PXE, which I think it's something to do with muscle. Don't quote me on that, but nobody around here even knows what it is. I didn't know what it was, but I went online. I just kind of looking at it, and then I made a donation to it in her honor. And because it's something nice to do. It gives you good connection with the person you're interviewing. And PXE, somebody from the website got back to me and thanked me for the donation. Then about 5 minutes later, I get another email from them saying, "Oh, we see you did this in honor of Jessica Harper. We'll see that she gets the notification." Well, I was on my way to work and the light turns red and I'm stuck in behind several cars. My phone dings. So I take a moment to look at the email, and it's Jessica Harper thanking me for the
divine.
Yeah. And I did have her on. Oh, I wish
What's
I had
the name? What is, I want to Google the disease. What is the disease?
P is in Peter. X
Hold on,
is
my phone. I need my phone to recognize me for once in its life.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold it. P.
X.
Yep.
E. International. That's the web page. I'm actually wondering if I can find, let me see. If I have it here, I might.
Oh, don't worry, because I've got to get going now.
Okay. Well, you know what? I had a couple of signed pictures of Jessica Harper. Yeah.
Anyway, but it's been so great talking to you. And I hope that you don't mind that I was banging on about my opinions of everything. I suppose that's what interviews are for.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, could you talk a little bit about doing shock treatment? Because you play a kind of a different character in that.
Oh, well, the shock treatment, it's just, that film has got so many great songs in it.
Mm-hmm.
And the look of it is so great. It was kind of ahead of its time. People think it's like the Jim Carrey film directed by Peter Weir. What's it called? When he's
Truman
stuck
Show.
The Truman Show. Yeah, they think that sort of was the Truman Show before the Truman Show. It's, to me, it was too complicated. Mm-hmm. Too many characters, too complicated, need to be simplified. And I also think it's extremely sad that Tim would not be in it. Mm-hmm. Susan would not be in it. I think it would have been so, if it had had the same cast as Rocky Horror in that completely different setting, that would have been really fun. And if the subject had been simplified. It was resurrected as a stage show about 6 years ago in London. It was a huge hit. It was a rewrite of the show. Mm-hmm. The book was rewritten, but I believe the songs were still there. And it was a big hit, not in the West End, outside of the West End. And Richard O'Brien went and saw it. And a West End theatre had already been booked for it to transfer it. And he wouldn't let it transfer, which is very curious, because it was such a big hit. And I think he really liked it too. Anyway.
Why wouldn't Tim, Barry, and Susan be in the movie?
I think I would imagine Tim regrets that decision in a way. I mean, he might not regret being in the film as it was, but I think if he'd been in it, and I don't even know who he would have played, and I'm not quite sure how it would have gone, but maybe they didn't like the film and the script enough. That could have easily been it. And maybe, I mean, with Susan, her career rocketed so quickly, not because of Rocky Horror at that time, but just because of her talent and the luck that some people have of, catching the wave. We all know so much luck is involved, but as it happens, as I've already said, she sure has the talent.
Yeah.
And she's gorgeous. gorgeous. But also, maybe they didn't want to be put together with the same people. Maybe they thought that wasn't a good career move. People think about that stuff so much more than you think, I imagine.
Well, you did play a nice nurse in that movie.
Yeah, I got a great costume. I got some good photos out of it.
I loved it when you're hanging off that cage. Yeah.
I love that so many people enjoy it, and as I say, the songs are really great, and it looks great. It looks great. The songs are great. So many people in it are great, but it just doesn't, for me, I just find it a little too complicated.
Yeah.
I
did like Richard O'Brien in it, and I got to admit, Jessica Harper rocks that hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my last question for you. What's the most interesting thing you've ever been asked to sign at one of these conventions?
Oh, definitely a limb, and then they go off and come back 2 hours later with that signature tattooed on them.
First time I heard that, I hear that a lot. First time I heard that was Caroline Monroe related that to me, and I hear it quite a bit. Yeah, it is kind of funny. I don't have tattoos. I'm just not that brave, but
well, I don't think it's I think if I think people that want tattoos, they probably have to, I don't know if it's courage or that they can endure the pain, what it is, but so many people seem to love it so much. I would never, ever get a tattoo, but I certainly enjoy seeing people's tattoos when they come to the conventions. And they don't have to be of Rocky Horror. I just am amazed how they've become sort of, like work pieces of moving art.
Have you seen a Columbia tattoo yet?
What? Of course I have. I've seen hundreds and hundreds.
That's the best one to get.
Well, that depends. Everyone's got their different favorites.
You're my favorite.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's been lovely doing your show, and I send my love to all your divine listeners. And remember what I said, don't smoke. In fact, Meryl Streep was asked, what tips would you give to an actor starting out? And she said, don't smoke and phone your mother on Sundays. Phone your mother every Sunday. Anyway, yeah, so just don't smoke. And be kind. That's the other thing. Be kind to people. Why would you ever want to hurt someone's feelings? And never cage an animal. Do not, fish in tanks, all of that's just absolutely shocking. Please don't do it.
Well, the last thing I'm going to ask you, would you please do a plug for my show?
Of course.
Yeah.
What do I say?
Just state your name and that you were Columbia in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Nell Campbell here, as in Columbia from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and of course Nurse Ansalong in Shock Treatment. And I'm here to say, I've forgotten your real name.
Greg Gilbert.
Well, darlings, I am here to say that the fabulous Python Paradise man, Greg Gilbert, has had me on his show, and please do listen to all his shows. They're absolutely fabulous.
Thank you so much, Nell, for coming on here. It was so awesome talking to you again. And I'll send you the Jessica Harper interview. I'll send it to you on an email. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, and lovely meeting you. Good luck with everything. You've got a great Prime Minister.
Well, thank you.
You and New Zealand have got the best heads of state in the world by far. And I'm really upset about those two Canadian businessmen in China.
Yeah.
That is obscene. I'm just over China. Believe me, they are creeping so close to us.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, hopefully
But
we can get you here to one of our cons. I would
I'd
love to
love
meet you.
to. I
Love
did it.
to.
I did a con in Toronto once. Love to do it again.
I just started doing them in 2017. So, and I got the bug because one of my guests invited me to a sister, and I couldn't say no to that, and I got the bug. So,
Yeah. Well, fabulous. Well,
yeah.
lovely to meet you. And off I go. Goodbye.
Bye bye. You take care.
Thank you. Same to you.